So if we're going to set up a template, the first thing you want to do is make sure that our style library is on read write. So we basically go to new, and then we'll go to our English US and just grab a standard drawing. And sometimes you'll get these style conflicts. We'll figure this out real quick. All right, so if we go to manage and update, it shows that there's nothing that needs to be updated. We can do purge, nothing there, save, nothing there. So basically it means that there's a style that's mismatched. So if we're going to set up the template, we basically go into the styles editor here. And the main thing is it's controlled by default standard and the object defaults. So what you can do is if you have multiple sheets that you want to do, I would say new style and call this one like fraction ANSI, something like that. So now anytime that you change one of these, so for instance, if you go to, let's say, the dimension objects, and you say, all right, well, whenever this linear dimension comes in, I want this to be architectural fraction. And so you could do the same thing with pretty much all of these. Well, so at that point, you'd then do save. And so anytime that this object default is used, the fraction will then be used on that linear dimension. And so if you wanted to actually get into that, you'd go over to here and you'd find that default fraction and then change it. So let's say your precision, you wanted to change that. You can also do a new style and say, copy of default fraction. And at that point, you could say, okay, this one's going to be 1/64th and save it. So then you have your fractions. You could say, well, I actually wanted these to be that. So you go through and basically change all these to your copy and save that. So now this fraction ANSI is actually going to be called the copy of the default, which is now 32 decimal places based off of, or 62 based off of that. So if we go into our default standard, let's say we want a new style, which is a copy of that, we can basically change this to fraction. So then we would save that, save and close. So now anything that we place, so any part that we place then will be in fractions. So if you then, after the fact, wanted to change this entire drawing, you'd go to the Styles Editor and then say, okay, I want this actually to be object defaults. You hit save, and then it goes back to decimals or whatever else you changed. So that's how you control what is actually placed on the inside of the drawing. Then at that point, you would then save, and that actually then save it to the library. So you'd hit yes, and it'd actually save all of those into the library. You hit OK. And then at that point, you would say save as, save copy as template, and then we'd put that into our location. So either overwrite the standard, which I wouldn't recommend, but then we call this one fraction. Let's make sure it actually works. Save that, save and close. All right. Make that standard good. Save as, save copy as template, and then we go to our ENUS, save as our fraction. So now, anytime that we use a new drawing, now we have our fraction. We basically insert a new dot, and it's going to be set to fractions. So, hope that helps.